Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics. And when it comes to the internal affairs of other countries, it is an accepted rule of international diplomacy that you don't interfere, at least not publicly. As with anything, of course, there's hardly anything truly internal about Brexit. In a global network of nations, everyone is involved, but the vast majority of nations have responsible leaders who respect the sovereignty of others. Sure, you get some national leaders of countries who lack this respect and constantly say what others should be doing, looking at you, Trumpland, but it is not usual. So it has come as something of a surprise that Japan, of all countries, is so alarmed by the rhetoric of the two men who are vying to become the UK Prime Minister that they have warned about the UK exiting without a deal. Japan's foreign minister said that the Japanese companies who are still operating in the UK would all be relocating to the EU in the event of such a Brexit. A stark warning which will continue, no doubt, to go unheeded by all those who still blindly refuse to accept that the losses we have already suffered have been Brexit related. He is saying in very clear terms that if your job or business relies upon any Japanese foreign investment in the UK, that you can forget about it as soon as we leave on no deal. In other words, even if you don't work directly for a Japanese company, if you work for, say, example, someone in their supply chain, you are buggered. And of course, if you do work for a Japanese company, and it makes no difference what sort, your employment with them is going to be short-lived. At this point, I was quite interested in knowing just how many jobs depend upon Japanese investment. Now, more about that in a minute. But the minister said there were 1,000 companies in the UK that would all move out. And that doesn't include the number of companies who depend on those businesses, like I said. In other words, their supply chain. So you can see why the normally very reserved Japanese, who are known for adhering to strict accepted conventions, feel the need to represent the interests of their business leaders in this way. After all, relocating to other countries would be costly for them. Just not as costly as remaining in a no-deal Brexit land, of course. He did make it clear that the decision is naturally the UK's government's to make, but they did plead with us to not exit without a deal. They've said that they've constantly been saying that to us. They're just now saying it more publicly. So let's think about this. There are 140,000 UK jobs in those 1,000 Japanese companies. So that's 140,000 jobs lost like that in the event of a no-deal Brexit. I can't possibly say how many would be lost in the supply chain, as that would require a specific study. I don't know if one has been done. I've not come across one. And I get that the Brexiteer supporters won't mind this. They'll call me 140,000 jobs, no problem. The Conservative government will hide those numbers with their fiddle stats and tell us that unemployment is still magically going down to historically low levels when jobs are being lost by the thousands every week and we have decreasing levels of investment in the country. But even 140,000 jobs is devastating. There's jobs going to be in the supply chain. Don't know how many of those are. The 140,000 in itself is devastating. And I use that word now so often it almost doesn't seem like enough. But think about this. 1,000 Japanese companies will relocate if we exit without a deal. So what's to say that companies of other nations wouldn't relocate? What's so special about Japanese companies across a range of sectors? And the answer is nothing at all. And if this is how the Japanese companies will react, it's how other foreign companies will react as well. They just aren't saying so yet. If we are out of the EU in November 2019, then 2020 will see the most sudden decline in a wealthy nation, well, maybe forever. It's almost like the experienced civil servants like Sir Ivan Rogers, who said that the effects of a no-deal Brexit would be obvious very quickly and that the effects would be widespread within a year, knew exactly what they were talking about. And those Brexiteers with no expertise at all in these matters, or indeed on any matters in some cases, who dismissed the lost trade with the EU by saying we could compensate with increased trade with other nations, that has been shown to be utter crap. I feel the need to repeat what has been so obvious. Business leaders have said that Brexit is bad. Foreign leaders have said that it's bad. Economists have said that it's bad. Civil servants have said that it's bad. Anyone with any level of expertise has said it's bad. And the only people with a level of expertise who've talked it up are the tiny number who personally stand to benefit from the decimation of our economy. But who do people listen to? The yahoos selling their snake oil. But this is fortunately what the vast majority of MPs at least managed to understand, because it's not a difficult message. Much about Brexit is complicated, but this fact is not. If we crash out without a deal, we are screwed. So much so that revolution would be inevitable. Not necessarily violent revolution. There's no need for that in a democracy. When you want your government out, you vote them out. But the politicians that took us out will never be trusted at all, ever again. Nor will their parties. Their time will end, and only those who sought to avoid such a fate will emerge at the other side. So MPs across the House of Commons who are fully seized of this are fighting to prevent it happening. They aren't disrespecting the referendum. They aren't enemies of the people. They are defending their country against certain ruin. And as much as, yes, they have stood back and allowed this limbo to continue, they will not allow us to charge headlong into the abyss. The greatest fear actually has to be on the part of the EU Council. After all, other EU members have taken serious steps to mitigate against a no deal. Besides, it wouldn't be seen as a terrible event if 1,000 UK-based Japanese companies all suddenly decided to relocate to the remaining member states, along with goodness knows how many other foreign companies. In such an environment, and with some member states already not happy with the UK's behaviour, the temptation to simply refuse another extension could be real. But then we'd still have the option of unilaterally revoking Article 50 and issuing a new referendum in our own time, I suppose. So I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for further content, and until next time, I'll see you later.